good, everyone? I want to welcome y'all back to the No Level Cap podcast. I am Sage Ashford. This is the No Level Cap crew, where we talk about all the anime, all the gaming, and none of the bullshit. We're back with episode 10 in the books. No Level Cap goes live every Monday. If you prefer the video version, we're on YouTube. And if you're a fan of the audio version, we're live on Spotify as well. We put up bite-sized versions of our podcast on TikTok if you're a fellow millennial or a Gen Zer and your attention span is just completely fucked like mine is. All right, this week we got some news to tackle, and I decided to just make that not just the news, but like the topic of the week. One thing I wanted to ask, I mean, like we've like the big thing that came through this week. There were a couple of little smaller things that happened. Some Monster Hunter Rise info and stuff like that. But like the big thing that popped off this week was like Starfield got delayed and Redfall got delayed. Two of Xbox's biggest games that were going to come out this year. And that puts us in an interesting spot for the year, and it puts Xbox in an interesting spot for the year. And so I want to kick things off by reading the actual statement, both that Bethesda put out and Xbox head Phil Spencer put out. So Bethesda puts out a statement on May 12th, which is about 2 days ago, where they said, we've made the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023. The teams at Arcane Austin, Redfall, and Bethesda Game Studios, Starfield, have incredible ambitions for their games, and we want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished versions of them. We want to thank you. We want to thank everyone for their excitement of Redfall and Starfield. That energy is a huge part of what inspires all of us every day and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. This part right here is really important. I want y'all to pay attention to the verbiage. We cannot wait to share our first deep dive into the gameplay for both Redfall and Starfield soon. Thank you for your support. And then Phil Spencer retweeted that and brought up and had his own statement to make because he, head of Xbox, he had to say something too. These decisions are hard on teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving teams time to release these great games when they are ready, we hear the feedback. Delivering quality and consistency as expected, we will continue to work better to meet those expectations. All right, so here's the thing. I guess we'll just start out with what does this mean for Xbox? Like, is there anything Xbox can do for this year? Like, are they screwed? Or like, cause like, I feel like they didn't buy Bethesda for the sake of just having this. Like, I don't feel like they bought Bethesda just for this purpose, but I think that helped play into it. A lot of their games that they were working on weren't going to be ready this year. A lot of those games were going to be ready in 2023, 2024, 2025. They weren't going to be ready this year. And so that makes me wonder, like, okay, well, they picked up Bethesda and they thought, well, we'll have games for 2022. We'll have Redfall. We'll have Starfield. Now they don't have that. Now they're kind of like assed out. Like now they're like, okay, well, what? So like, is Xbox in trouble? Like, Terrence, do you think they're in trouble?
I don't think Xbox is in trouble per se, but I think that it really depends on what we see at their Summer Games event. Like that is going to be the breaking point. I think right now, and I was reading a couple articles to kind of get my to kind of inform myself before like jumping on here. Definitely don't want to spout a bunch of BS, but I think right now Xbox is in a place where they're probably having to lean on Game Pass a lot more than maybe they were anticipating. It's like it went from Xbox being like, oh, this cool console that also has Game Pass to now it's like you kind of have to have Game Pass to get the full benefit out of the Xbox at the moment because you're not getting those exclusives that Sony is getting. You'll get, Xbox, of course, has good third-party support, but right now that's kind of it. It's like you're not getting exclusives. You don't have any like strong first party titles for this year. I'm not talking about like down the line, but just for this year. And so I don't know, man. It really depends on what we see at this summer show as to how things go forward with Xbox, at least for this year. It may just be a year where they just have to keep relying on, Xbox Game Pass as like the selling point for the console. And then maybe next year that'll be the year where they'll start to shift more towards like the actual games. But just for now, I don't know, man. I kind of feel bad for Xbox fans.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned Xbox Game Pass being the thing that kind of carries them. would it be a good idea for them to grab one of the big third-party games that are coming out this fall and being like, hey, you don't have to pay $60. You can just pay us 15 for the month of, whatever. Like if they grab, for instance, like Gotham Knights, would that be a good idea for them?
That might be the
Gotham Knights or
move.
any other third-party game like big
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, that might honestly be the move just because as of right now, I mean, you don't have any first party titles that are like standing out. So they might have to get a game like that or a couple of games to really make it worth buying an Xbox. Because right now, it's say what you want to about Sony fans. Hey, at least Sony people this year, they've got games that have come out. There's still more to come, but Xbox is like I was looking at a list earlier, an article that was talking about the exclusives for this year, and I mean, it's not really anything. I don't know. Like I said, Xbox is in a peculiar place.
They were clearly supposed to be anchored by Redfall and
Mm,
Starfield. Starfield was definitely not just one of the big games for Xbox, but probably the biggest game of like I would go so far as to say once Zelda got delayed, and we'll talk a bit about that later. Once Zelda got delayed, Starfield was the only game that was going to compete with Elden Ring in terms of like just a big AAA experience for like people to
yeah.
sink their teeth into. And now it's gone. Will, how do you feel? Like is Xbox just screwed? Is there anything they can do?
Well, unlike Terrence, I am very much uneducated on the matter, but I will admit this here that I don't think they're necessarily in the deepest amount of trouble because how do I say this? I think games themselves, especially big names like that, like the Redfall and the Starfield, and I know a lot of people hate that those are getting pushed back. And I myself had no problem with it, but I know a lot of fans will. I think if anything, Xbox has a trouble with, gonna have trouble with, it's gonna be the fan, not necessarily the games and all that. Like Tans mentioned Game Pass, and yeah, Game Pass is definitely doing a lot of backpacking along the way through this year, but I don't see it causing them too much trouble unless the fans start making a big uprising about it, and especially when the summer gets here for the summer game show. If Xbox decides in their infinite wisdom to not show anything relating to those two games and anything going forward from the summer, maybe even into the winter, like the latter bit of fall, and show us anything, I could definitely see them having trouble. But for now, no. But if they screw up in the future, the latter part of this year, yeah, they will have issues on their hands.
I think there are some fans that are pretty dissatisfied because they expected
Yeah.
a lot of games to pop up. They expected those two games, like if nothing else, they knew they didn't have a lot to count on, but they also knew like, okay, well, we're gonna have Starfield, we're gonna have Redfall. Even if you're not a big fan of Redfall, like I feel like Starfield was
Mhm.
definitely that big game that like everybody was gonna have their eyes on this fall, and for Xbox to be like, nah, we don't have it. I understand, like I feel like that's necessary, but like
Right.
it definitely don't make everybody happy. Rakim, do you think Xbox is screwed? Like, do you think that they can pivot out of this? Do you think how much of this is riding on summer game, like their summer game showcase?
A lot's riding on the Summer Game Showcase because now you've lost some confidence within your constituents, your the players. But at the same time, it's when I think about it, I heard this news, I was like, wow, we thought we were heading into Xbox 2.0, and now we've gone back to Xbox status quo. We
Mm.
talk about we're
Bars.
having a conversation about what
Mm.
about disappointing games they're having this year. Man, that's been the MO of Xbox for a decade. They don't. They're the developers who like rely on a few strong IPs, push
Halo,
those very hard.
Gears, Forza.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like
them three.
so if I was Xbox in this situation, and I'm not like I said, I'm not the super educated on it as well, but if I was Xbox in this situation, the best thing they can do on the Summer's Game Fest, if they don't have anything coming out, work with some of these third-party developers and go back to some of those timed exclusivity deals. Maybe with the current titles they have, such as Halo, currently like, basically has kind of a game and service thing with Infinite multiplayer. Put a little more work behind that. Give us developers a little more support. Really lean into their next big expansion or projects or things of that matter. This is a time where we had our podcast, several weeks back about games as a service. This is where games as a service saves your ass. Because when you
Mhm.
don't have new IPs coming out, if you have a game as a service title that's strong and can hold people in like a Destiny was at some point, you can rely on that and push that a little more, give it a big expansion and kind of get in more players, something consistent. That's why games like that are kind of important to have in the long run. And we can see Sony's been trying to have one of those for a while now. But as far as do I think they're in trouble? Maybe a little bit. I think we all were kind of looking forward. I know I was looking forward to Starfield. Screw that. I was looking forward to Starfield. I was
Yeah.
looking forward to Starfield for many reasons because I was a Bethesda fan with Skyrim, Fallout, and I wanted to see what the evolution of that would be for the for the sci-fi genre they were heading towards. So as a fan of those franchises, I'm disappointed. And as they've adapted all these different fan bases from all the developers they've gotten, at some point you have to deliver. They want to see what this new era is going to look like. And if they go into this new era seeing that like it's the same old thing, they're not going to be happy about that. Of course, we have to also understand that gamers today, since to be honest, delays have become almost normalized at this point. I remember there was a time like years and years
Hold
ago,
it,
people
hold it.
still upset. Yes.
Hold it. We gonna get into that just a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're a little too far. But yeah, due to delay issues, of course, gamers have, we have shorter attention spans. We want things newer, we want things now. So being told that something we really wanted this year is getting pushed back, we're not going to like that. Some gamers are okay, there's those excuses that come up here and there, but yeah, we're not going to like that. So I think Xbox needs to really put the pedal to the metal and make that experience of this summer game show really count.
I agree. Like as far as is there anything Xbox can do for this year? My answer is no. I've seen this discussion on a few other places online, and the answer is no. They have. There's a rumor that the not Forza Horizon, but regular Forza, race car Forza, is supposed to be launching this fall, and that's cool, and that will perform well, and it will probably review well. Forza typically does quite well for them, but like that ain't enough. Like people like Starfield was gonna be the big everybody gotta get this type ass game, and now they don't have that. And Redfall was gonna be ideally like a strong multiplayer game for them, and now they don't have that either. That's a problem. Like you're trying to thread the needle and get something for multiplayer fans and single player fans, and if you don't have either, what do you have? And racing games, they don't fill that hole in the same kind of way. And I don't know, not as far as I was gonna ask y'all, should they even show gameplay for Starfield or Redfall? Because here's the thing: when I read the press release, they said we will show gameplay soon. They didn't say tune in to the Summer Game Fest or Summer Game Showcase where we will show you more. They said we'll show you something soon. And Bethesda has always been kind of like, look, we trying to keep the time from gameplay reveal to release as short as possible, 4 to 6 months max. So this would be breaking extreme character for them to be like, oh well, the game's not coming out until May of next year. That's just an example, which by the way is a full calendar year now. But like it's if the game came out in May or June, they'd be like, oh yeah, we're still gonna show gameplay. Like they may not, and I don't even know if that's a bad idea, because like another big piece of news that came out this month or this week rather was Gotham Knights. The Gotham Knights trailer dropped, and they gave the demo. It looked like the trailer. It got a lot of backlash. It got a lot of heat. And at first I was like, y'all just complaining about nothing. But I went back and rewatched it just so I could give a look to it because people were saying the gameplay was really trash. And I was like, well, the gameplay didn't look trash in the first trailer 2 years ago. So what happened in those 2 years? And I went back and looked, and it felt like they gave the demo to somebody who didn't know how to play. And now the people think the combat's terrible. And it might be solid combat, but as it stands, people think the game sucks. People think that the combat's going to suck and that the game will be bad. They're already making comparisons to Avengers. That's not good. And that's what happens when you show a game too soon or if you're not ready to show the game. So, like, if you're not able to show Starfield in a state where you're like, we're confident that the fans are going to like this, we're confident that this is going to be representative of the final product, maybe you shouldn't. I remember when this news first broke, and I think Terrence was the one that asked me like, what does Xbox do? And I was like, hell, you need to just like I know a couple of weeks ago I said, they should show just a couple of games if they have because like the report was all of their studios, all of the Xbox game studios had something to show, and they could show it or could not show it at their discretion. And I was like, nah, they should hold back and spread it out amongst. And then my reaction initially when I saw this news was like, no, don't spread shit out no more. Like you got to show people that you have something. You got some shit in the tank. Show everything at the same time. But I don't know if that's a good idea. I think that might be a mistake, and I think they might be in trouble because like if you don't like you can't keep showing things that are coming down the line because you're always kicking the can down the road. And that's not how people want to that's not how I want to be treated as a gamer, as a customer. I don't want to be treated like that where it's always, oh yeah, we have something 6 months, a year down the like, nah, no. But let's shift topics just a little bit and ask like let's zoom out. How do y'all feel about game delays in general now? And better question, has your opinion changed over the last two generations? Because here's the thing, I feel like we've had more and more delays, especially in the PS4 generation, and now going into the PS5 generation, Xbox Series generation. Y'all gotta excuse me. Like even though I'm platform agnostic at this point, my brain still thinks in terms of Sony as generations. I'm sorry, but like I feel like last gen and eighth gen and this gen and ninth gen, thanks mostly to the pandemic for this gen, but like we've seen like there are very few games that get announced that don't get delayed. Like there are very few AAA titles that they announce a release date and then they're like, yeah, we hit the release date, that's it, we're moving on to the next project. That doesn't happen anymore. And I feel like with video game delays, I feel like they're necessary because let me put it a better way. I feel like you gotta stand strong. Like either don't announce the game at all, like well announce the game, but like don't put a date on it until you're sure, or when you have to delay it, give like a proper delay. Like we saw what happened with Cyberpunk when Cyberpunk tried to like, oh, we're not gonna delay it that much. We're still gonna drop it this year. I think that game was originally supposed to come out in like May of 2020, and then they kicked it down the can. They kicked the can down the road. I think twice, and each time they were determined to stick in that 2020 because they wanted the money to they wanted to get the return on their investment from having invested in that game for like 4 or 5 years with like nothing other than The Witcher giving them income and Gwent, I guess. But like it didn't work. And then if you look deeper into what happened, we looked and like you do research, you talk about like you look at some of what the reporters said when they talked to developers, behind the scenes, and they were like, yeah, we didn't even think that game was supposed to come out for another 2 years. Like they didn't want that game to come out until 2021 or early 2022. In other words, this year was when they thought that game would be coming out, and they rushed it out the door. And I feel like if you're gonna do video game delays now, I feel like that needs to happen because like surrounding Starfield, like one of the reporters I saw, I think Jason Schreier said, "Hey man, some of the developers when this game's release date was first announced, they were kind of concerned that this might be another Cyberpunk situation." And I'm seeing that a lot more amongst developers where they're like panicked. And as a gamer, I'm like, no, don't panic, just delay it, bro. Like I don't. I know they got that quote, the Miyamoto quote, which I don't even think he said, where it's like a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is gonna be forever bad. And it's like, okay, that's not always true, but it's not a bad idea. Like, hey man, push that can. Like, don't be afraid to delay that shit by years if you have to. It takes 6, 7 years to make a new IP now. It takes 5 years at best to make like a sequel to an existing IP. So don't be afraid to kick that can down the road. Like people will be all right. Y'all got backlogs upon backlogs upon backlogs, and none of you motherfuckers is playing them. I know, cause y'all like when the new game come out, y'all like, oh, I can't wait to buy this game, and you buying it and you putting it on your shelf and just looking at it. You ain't playing them games. Like, don't be afraid to dig your backlog out and
I put it right on the shelf. I'm gonna look at it like, yeah, man, this is a nice shelf trophy right here.
I'm gonna play this game one day. Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah, my shelf is looking like a shelf.
Yeah, your shelf look like a shelf, but your game, like, you're not playing these games. Like, even me, like, I got so many games. I'm like, man, fuck. So like, don't be afraid to kick them games down the road and make sure that your product is on point. At least that's how I feel. Like, I don't want to see, because like once the game is out, you got a tough road to hoe to fix that bitch. Like, if there's some cases where you fixed it, No Man's Sky, Final Fantasy 14, like, but there are more cases than not where you release the game and the public perception is fucked and you never get it back. So I think like we gotta go ahead and just start to accept as gamers, all of us, like every customer out here that's like a heavy gaming fan, we need to just start accepting that delays they gonna happen, and it's not a bad thing, and stop getting on developers' ass, and definitely stop getting on these journalists' ass when they announce the delay ahead of time. Cut that out. All right, Rakeem, how do you feel?
Man, I'm glad you brought this up with delays because I remember when I was younger in college, I was always in mindset delay that motherfucker as long as you need to, as many times as you need to. Whatever I get, I want the best quality product you can give me when I get it. The only thing that's changed about that for me now compared to back then is that I don't mind delays. However, I have noticed a thing with delays that sometimes the delay is a symptom of a bigger issue.
Mm.
Sometimes it's not just the developers are having issues with the game itself. Sometimes it's mismanagement. Sometimes they're having issues with the scope of the game, the direction of the game. Something changes mid development, and when you change your development range like 2 3 years down the line, or they change to a completely different thing, or they started with one concept and then evolves something else. Um, to me, as far as it comes with game delays, you have to be very careful because it is a business, and ultimately, if the background stuff that's going on, like for instance with Activision Blizzard and all the corruption that was going on there, issues with mistreatment, mismanagement, you can't fix that just by delaying the game. You got to fix the symptom. You got to fix the management. You got to fix what's going on with the culture. You got to fix the pressure you put on developers. You got to fix the crunch. You think delaying these games they're stopping the crunch? No,
Crunch gets worse.
they're gonna get worse. And sometimes, even with delaying the game a lot, that doesn't fix it. I've seen games have been delayed multiple times and still come out bad.
A lot of
Um,
times when that happens, like Cyberpunk, like I said, they kick the can down the road. They don't kick it enough down the road. Like
right,
I hate to disappoint y'all, but like 5 months is nothing in game development time anymore. Like if it takes 7 years, 6, 7 years to develop a project, like 5 months is jack. Like 5 months is basically we just trying to iron out a few kinks. You're not gonna fix any major problems in those 5 months. So
right,
you need a delay bigger than that. Go ahead, King.
yeah. And when it comes to delay examples, I always think back to the second Deus Ex game, Mankind Divided, because I was very hyped for that game. Because as a lot of you know, Human Revolution was one of my favorite games of that generation, the PS3, Xbox 360 generation. I love that game. So when Mankind Divided got announced, I was unbelievably hyped. But there was a myriad of reasons that it did end up living up to the sales expectations. One, they set this pre-order bonus system where you got the game early months in advance, which is a little more common now, but back then, well, not months in advance, excuse me, days in
So
advance.
say days in advance, right?
Sorry, you got to play the game days in advance, which is a little more common now. Back then, for like a single player game, gamers was kind of livid. Like, I got a pre-ordered game and you get it early. Like, what is this? And what really pissed a lot of people off was that they put that pre-order system in way too early, and then they delayed the game 8 months. So now I was supposed to pre-order the game and get it play early, and it got pushed back. So that defeated the entire purpose of the pre-order. And as a result, it got pushed back from like I think a January or February window all the way to August.
It was like an 8 month delay, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a result, like that time frame, there was so much like bad will brought from that situation and the delay. The hype for the game just died. And I think legitimately that business decision they made undercut the game's value and sales and projection. And that can happen with game delays too. You have to be very careful how you market the game. Sage, you brought up a very good point. Sometimes you shouldn't even show the game if you don't think it's absolutely ready. Because once you show it to us, once we see it, we've already imagined if we're going to enjoy it or not. We've already judged it, and we're going to want it. Don't give me something. Don't tease me. Don't blue ball me at the last moment. 2 months out, 1 month out, you done put it in my face, and then you like, nah, you gotta wait 7 8 months. Nah, I think I'm gonna go find something else.
We still talking about games?
I know, right?
Yes,
We still on the same subject.
yes, yes. But yeah, so that's just basically it. I'm still a delay as necessary guy, but I watch carefully now in the system of delays because I think sometimes there are deeper issues under than just the game not being quite ready that cause some delays. And sometimes those can't be fixed even when you do delay the game.
That is a very like all of that was very good points, like solid. Terrence, like how do you feel about video game delays, and has your opinion changed over the last like over the eighth gen and the ninth gen? Like, how do you feel?
It's funny. Raheem hit on a lot of really good points there. Some of the stuff that I was going to talk about. For me, I don't mind if a game gets delayed. Like ultimately, like I have the same mindset as Raheem that if a game just gets delayed, as long as that game still comes out good in the long run, then that's fine for me. But I do agree that nowadays it does seem like games getting delayed is just a symptom of a larger problem. Because I was kind of looking back over some games that were delayed from the previous generation and kind of like what led them to being delayed and how they ended up turning out in the long run. Some of the examples that I have, of course, Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk at this point is like legendary in terms of how it,
Yeah.
the state that it came out in. And yeah, had that game come out this year, it probably would be considered like a much, much better game because it would have had more time in the oven. And some of the other games I have, I mean, we talked about Avengers. Avengers, that's a good example right there. And just them pushing it back from May to, what was it, September that they pushed it back to?
Yes.
Yeah, that was last year. No, was that 2020?
No, it's 2020.
Yeah, it was 2020. Yeah, it was 2020. So yeah, and just them doing that wasn't really a good enough delay. Like that game needed more time in the oven. One for me is Guilty Gear Strive. That game, I think it could have used some more time in the oven just cuz and it got delayed too. That game was supposed to come out in 2019 and it ended up coming out in 2021. But yeah, they kind of just kept kicking the can on it, and when it came out it still had some issues. Like it was a solid game overall, but the online was having problems, in terms of like logging in.
Connecting to
There's the connecting to server issues, and it still felt like it was kind of light on some content. Like they like I'll put it this way: the way the game is now, arguably had it been released that way, it probably would have scored even better. Just because they had the whole model mode in there now, where you can like fix the models and what is it called? What do you like?
diorama mode.
Yeah, diorama mode. Yeah. That mode. It has the second story mode. It has a bunch of other stuff like the combo trial thing that should have been there at launch. So it's like all this stuff that is now in the game that has made it better. It feels like the game would have been even better at launch had some of that stuff been in from jump. And the last example I have is Final Fantasy 15. That game was delayed quite a bit before, and when it finally came out, it wasn't what a lot. I mean, it wasn't a bad. Like here's the thing: like all these games that we're talking about, they're not well, maybe outside of Cyberpunk, they're not bad. Well, even Cyberpunk isn't a bad game. It's just a game that has a lot of issues due to the fact that it just didn't have enough time in the oven. And Final Fantasy 15 is the same way. It just feels like had a little bit more love and care been spent with it, I think it would have been fine in the long run. But they put it out the door before it got the chance to finish brushing its teeth. So it just is what it is. And yeah, I was gonna bring up that quote, Sage, the supposed Miyamoto quote. Like honestly, until today, I didn't know that he probably didn't say that because nobody can actually find where that quote came from. But anyway, I mean, it's a good quote. Delayed game is eventually good, but rush game is bad. I don't know if that even applies anymore. It just feels like even when a game is delayed, some like the games I just mentioned, sometimes they still don't come out as good as what they could have been. So I don't know if this is just something that as an industry, the gaming industry just needs to kind of like take a step back and realize like, yo, these games are going to take a lot longer than we think they are, especially now that we're in the 4K going to 8K era. These games are going to take so long to complete. And I think
maybe we could just not do 8K and we could do like 1440p and maybe 4K and stop wasting time on 8K assets. So like somebody got to spend 6 months designing a goddamn tree. We could do that too, but I don't think that's what's gonna happen.
Well,
sorry, carry on.
You'll have to talk to the, I guess, the industry about that. But yeah, it's just that I don't mind video games in terms of how I guess I'm trying to keep this. I'm trying not to be too long, but it's interesting to look at how delays were done back during like the early like PS2, GameCube, Xbox One, not like Xbox the original era, and it's just interesting to see how delays were handled back then. A lot of times with delays, it was usually because the game was meant to be one thing and then it got turned into something else. Like one of the games that comes to mind for me is Star Fox Adventures that was on the GameCube. That game was originally just supposed to be like Dinosaur Planet and something all on its
Different
own.
game.
And they ended up having to turn it into a Star Fox property, which is wild in and of itself. And I know Metroid Prime, that was originally supposed to be an N64 game, but I don't think the technology was quite there to make it the game that they wanted to. And I think that was the case with a lot of games back then, just that the technology wasn't quite there to make it work on certain consoles, so they end up like kicking it down the road to another gen and it worked out better. But now we're just at the point where these games just take a long time to make, and so I think developers are just going to have to realize, well, these companies are going to have to realize that either, like, I don't know, hire more people or just be a bit more realistic about how much time these games are going to take. Because I don't know, I feel bad for Xbox, but at the same time, I think that it was necessary that if Starfield and Redfield weren't going to be the games that they need to be this year, it's best just to go ahead and just delay something like that. And I do agree that maybe they're better off not showing us any gameplay at the Summer's Games Fest, just because whatever we see, that's first impressions matter, especially now within this generation, especially first impressions for a game absolutely matter. And if you fumble the ball on the first go, people might not be willing to give you a chance. I know Street Fighter 6, has a rough hill to climb just because of the impression that Street Fighter 5 gave at launch. So it's really going to have to knock it out of the park. And I think Capcom made a smart decision to, show the little teaser, but not show any gameplay off front, just because there's so much time. We still don't know exactly when the game is going to come out. So just take time to make a very well-crafted gameplay demonstration and just make sure that whatever we see at that first impression, that it's a good impression. So that's my long answer of just saying that, I have no problem with delays if it ultimately results in the game being better. But like Rakeem said, it can be a sign of something that maybe isn't quite right in other areas of development that's going on.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that part up. Like Rakeem really hit the nail on the head. Sometimes it is just a sign that something else is going on behind the scenes that they either don't want to talk about or like that we're not seeing. And again, like as far as these delays go, we just got to stop. Like developers are gonna have to stop with these little bitch delays, like the little 2 months. That stop kicking the can down the road that little way. Like you know that you need another year, and you trying to think that you're gonna get a year's worth of work done in 5 months. You not. I'm sorry. Like I don't care how many hours you crunch. Like eventually the human brain is gonna stop working. Like you trying to squeeze 16 hours out of people that should only be working 8 in the first place. And then you wonder why the game comes out and it's the fans still complain. Of course they did. Of course they did. Like when you when you make your delay, when you realize we can't hit this target date, you need to go, oh, well, how much time do we really need? And don't try to shave off some of the time. Like you listen to like somebody, one of your project leads, and the project lead says something, or one of your head developers says something like, yeah, man, I don't know. Like realistically, we might need 18 months. You might need 18 months. I don't like, okay, you just need 18 months because you're losing the belief. You're losing the fans on a broad scale. Like it's so many fans don't believe y'all now. It's too many that look at y'all and go like, yeah, but y'all lied last time, and everybody lied, and that's why Cyberpunk was such a big deal because Cyberpunk was a darling of the industry. Oh, well, CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red was a darling of the industry. Like across The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3, they had built up this legend about themselves of being like the one AAA developer that was different. And then you found out that it was exactly the same because they put out that game on old gen consoles knowing damn well it wasn't going to run well. They put it out early knowing damn well they needed another year. At the very least, it needed another year. It should have come out fall 2021 at the least. And you rushed it out the door because you wanted to make sure your financials were straight. And now you done fucked yourself up for good. What's good, Terrence?
I was just going to say, you know what? The whole argument about like first impressions, you could say that Cyberpunk kind of ruined that as well because didn't they have like a 40-minute gameplay demonstration and the game looked fine. Like it looked really good then. So it's like if you can somehow fake a full 40 minutes, then who knows if the first impression that we're getting is really real or not.
So
that adds another complexity to it.
I've told Keem about this. I'm working on an article about something, but like one of the things that I brought up in the article, okay. It's about like the story of the eighth generation, and one of the things that I thought of that it is part of the story of the eighth generation is that gameplay is a lie. Like it's I remember there was a time when we used to have bullshots, like the idea of screenshots that looked way better than the actual game was ever gonna look. And then we were like, no, 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 I need gameplay. I need to see gameplay. Well, Cyberpunk slayed the idea of gameplay forever. Like it's over with. Because like as you just said, 45 minutes of gameplay, and the fans were like, oh man, this looks great. And it came out, and like I think things were missing from the initial 45-minute trailer. The game was a lot more glitchy because I mean, obviously they just showed you a polished vertical slice. That was it. Like at this point, really the only thing fans can believe in now is when the game comes out and having someone play it and you see it being played and you go, because even like when you talk about reviews, I almost can't even say reviews, and I hate to do journalists like this, but damn, y'all let Cyberpunk off the hook. And at the very, even if you didn't let it off the hook, you played it on next gen and PC, and so you were missing all the glitches at a time where you couldn't really get a hold of a next gen console. So like the only way most people were going to experience that was through PS4 and through Xbox One, and like they played this buggy piece of crap. And you out here talking about, oh, it's a 9, it's a 9.5, it's a 10 out of 10, it's game of the year. No, the fuck it's not. It ain't none of that. It ain't none of that. And
it's a game that's supposed to come out on the PS3 and 360 originally, right?
Huh?
Wasn't it supposed to originally come out on the, or was it like, no, I guess, because when was Cyberpunk technically announced? Like it was announced like way early into the PS4.
Well, now we're getting into the weeds a bit here, but I do know the timeline. Okay. It was announced in 2012, which is before the PS3 and the PS4 and the Xbox One came out. Yeah. But it was basically a recruiting ad, and that's something that's become way more common since that happened, where they like basically a developer will tell you what they're working on for the sake of just being like, we don't want to be hush hush and keep a lot of secrecy. We want people to know what we're working on so that the developers will come and work with us and work for us rather. And so like they initially showed it off in 2012, and from what I understand, development on that game didn't start until 2016.
Okay, yeah, that's
like
right.
The full production on that game didn't start until after they were done, not only with The Witcher, but with The Witcher DLC. So it kind of like us knowing about it kind of affected us badly because like we're like, oh, it's been 8 years, like no, it's been 8 years since they told us they were working on it, or they told us they had the idea to work on it. It's been 4 years since they actually started working on it, and we probably should have just been a little bit more patient. But I mean, Will, how do you feel about video game delays, and has your opinion on them changed over the last 2 generations?
Over the last 2 generations, my opinion on delays really hasn't changed. But if you had asked me a little bit further back, I would have said you, yeah, it's definitely changed. But as of the past 2, as of right now, PS5, PS4, I'm in the same mindset as these 2. Like, if you have to delay this game, make it your business to do so, because I don't want you throwing this out here. I spend my money and I'm mad at you after the fact, and I'm mad at myself for wasting my damn money. Now, they pretty much touched on every goddamn thing I had in mind, from the quote to Final Fantasy Versus 13, which would have been a thing, and that kind of ties in with Keem's explanation of the scope of the game, because if you saw what they showed us, it was also going to be part of that whole like little, what is it, sub-series, subset that
Number Crystallis.
Had in mind. Yeah, Nova Fabula Crystallis. There's going to be a part of that, which is also what Final Fantasy, which is what Final Fantasy 13 is a part of, and people already don't like that set of games, but we ain't going to talk about that. Honestly, I just think that if you have to delay it, do it. I also agree with you as well, Sage. Don't do no little, oh, I need like a month to like throw this back a little bit. We're going to do this here. Like, if you tell me you need 2 or 3 months to delay it, I got to look at you a little funny, because I feel like you're not fixing nothing major at that point. You're like, I want to just take these little pieces out here and get this right, so that way we can sell the game and at least make it look at least halfway good, or at least play 10 or 20% better than it did. That's what kind of makes that a little sad. But if you have to delay it a year, please say that. If you know for a fact that you don't know how long it's going to take for you to have this game out, and you mention it to us at a game show, don't you dare, in your right mind, look at me and say, oh, it's going to come out in fall 2023. But when it get close time, you be like, okay, we got to push it back another year. You better just say coming soon in the trailer or something, or sometime soon, something. Say something in that trailer that's gonna tell me it's coming, but don't give me no expectation of when it's coming, because then you're gonna have me ready for it. That's what I'm looking at. So don't have me ready for something and you're not gonna finish it in time. Don't be like me in college, waiting till the last night to turn the paper in. That's the best way to put it. Don't
That
be
was
that
all of
college
us.
student. Don't be that student.
I think
Don't
the
be that
sad
student.
thing about real life is that you learn that that's what everybody's doing all of the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, true. I know. It's just one of those things where I'm like, don't be that student. Don't be like, oh, I got a year to put this out, but then you wait until the day before that year comes full circle to say, oh, shit, I gotta do it now. You gotta get out there. I gotta make my money.
I got 30 minutes to turn it in on Blackboard.
I got 30 minutes.
Blackboard.
I got 30 minutes. I got 30 minutes, a line of cocaine and a Red Bull. We can do it. Don't do that.
Sound loud. I just think, okay, I'm of two minds about this. One, I think that it's okay for you to announce your game way ahead in advance. Like I like this, it used to bother me, like, oh, just don't tell me about the game until it's out, until it's ready to be out. Nah, fuck that. Because in the movie industry, it don't work that way. They announce in blockbuster movies, they announce blockbuster films, and it ain't even a director attached yet. They be like, yeah, we working on this. It's coming out 2024, and that's it. And then over the course of the next 3 years, they will put a movie together. They'll find the director. I mean, they'll find a script writer. They'll find a director. They'll find a lead actor, and they put the movie together. Like, it's okay, and I feel like gaming is kind of starting to get to that point where they go, okay, well, look, we're working on X game, and they don't show you shit. They just tell you we're working on this. Like IO Interactive, I think last year, was it last year or this year? They were like, yeah, we're working on Indiana Jones. Did they have anything for us? Hell no. They just said we're working on Indiana Jones, and then they just kept it moving.
That's like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's definitely like that.
Same with Wonder Woman. Like they didn't. Hell, both of those examples they showed more than I think Indiana Jones. I think IO Interactive was legit just like, nah, guys, we're working on Indiana Jones, and that's it. Star Wars, Ubisoft did the same thing with Star Wars. They were like, yeah, we got Ubisoft Massive, or it's not Ubisoft Massive, it's just Massive Entertainment. They were like, we got Massive Entertainment, the people that work on Division. They're working on Star Wars open world game. That was it. They didn't have a logo. They didn't have a teaser. They was just like, we working on this. Shut up about it. Don't ask us shit. Like, when is it gonna come? Don't ask us that. We'll let you know. And I think that's a good way to go about it. And I think gamers, all of us, have to get out of the mindset of seeing games as toys that you like waiting on eagerly at Christmas. Like, it ain't that. It's a billion-dollar industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you're gonna need to approach it with some professionalism and some decorum. And I'm not saying that fans gotta be professional about it, but like you gotta understand this is a business. They're working on products. They're not working on, a toy to leave under your tree at Christmas time. You gotta get over that. Like, the only thing I'll say in the other direction in favor of fans is don't show me no game 50,000 times. All right? Once you show it to me, go silent. Like, it's okay. Just go silent until you're sure that you're ready, until you like 4 months out, and then you like, all right, look, remember that game we told y'all about forever ago? And, the gaming audience is like, kind of, I guess, here's this cool ass trailer. Oh, shit, yeah, I do remember this now. It's coming out in 4 months. Bet. Don't like this whole thing of we gonna show it to you and then show it to you again, like Starfield. Starfield's been doing this weird thing because they didn't want to show us any gameplay. They just kept showing us some bullshit concept art. And I mean the concept art looks cool, but here's the thing: that's still setting expectations. Because if the game don't look like the concept art, I'm gonna be mad. Over here looking at the concept art, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to explore this world. Wow, this looks so cool. I can't wait to go there. And if the game don't look shit like that, I'm gonna be like, God damn it, you lied to me. So like, you stop trying to. The best thing to do is just be quiet. Like once you tell everybody that it's out there, like yeah, it's out there. We working on it, and it's on us from that point forward to just be like, all right, they working on it. Don't ask them no questions. When we gonna see it? I want to see it. Like you'll get it when you get it. Hell, like I said earlier, all y'all gonna do is put the motherfucker on the shelf. Like you're not gonna you gonna pick it up and put it on the shelf and not do shit. What's up, Will?
Would that be kind of almost in the same vein as Kingdom Hearts 4, Magic in development?
With that. Like if they shut up and don't show you anything until Kingdom Hearts 4 is ready to come out, that's the way to go about it. Like they showed,
Mm-hmm.
like they said, we're working on Kingdom Hearts 4. They gave you a little trailer to show you what it's gonna look like a little bit. And if they're quiet, if they go radio silent for 3 years, because I mean, you assume they've been working on it already for a while because they have a lot. They showed
Yeah.
us a little bit. If they go radio silent for 3, 4 years, that's fine with me. Like, now I'm not a Kingdom Hearts fan, but I'm just saying that's the way I would like it to unfold. Show me something like, all right, this is what it looked like. Now we finna go shut up somewhere and work on the game. And it's on everybody that's a fan of that game to not ask and not bug the developers. They working. Like, what are they
Right.
doing? What are they doing over there? Working, motherfucker. What you think they doing?
They're
So,
working.
like it's just a matter of us, being grown up about it all the way around. Okay,
Right.
now the last question I wanted to ask, and it's kind of a two-part question. Uh, so this year was hyped to hell and back. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, look at all these games!" Because everybody thought all the games that got delayed out of 2021 into 2022
Mhm.
were gonna be like was gonna make 2022 like one of the greatest video game years of all time, something that could compete with 2017, 2018, that type shit.
11.
2011, 2007. There are a lot of really great years. We'll discuss
Oh
that in
yeah.
another podcast one day. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but this year was supposed to be like huge, and they delayed like. Then I looked up like what games got delayed. Like, there were like major games, and there were five. Of course, we know Starfield and Redfall. There was
Mm-hmm.
also Capcom. Capcom's Pragmata was supposed to come out. We don't know
Yeah.
anything about that, so I wasn't
Yeah.
super duper like hyped for that.
Oh,
Uh,
forgot about
Le-
that.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, which is not the official title, but whatever, that got delayed as well. And then lastly, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League was supposed to come out this year. And I think Jason Schreier talked about it at the start of the year. He was like, "Yeah, that game's not coming out this year. It's coming out next year." And people didn't believe him at first, which is dumb. You should always believe Jason. Uh, but it got pushed into next year, and so now we're looking at five of the biggest projects getting delayed. So let me ask you: do these delays make this a weak year for video games, or is it like we've kind of blown this out of proportion, and there are still plenty of games to play? Terrence, how do you feel? Like, okay, first off, let me preface that there are still two games that have not been delayed and will yet come out this year. Y'all know what they are. I think one of them will make it, and I think the other one won't. God of War Ragnarok and Final Fantasy 16. And
Mm-hmm.
I've made my feelings known on which one I think will make it and which one won't. So I'm not gonna get into that. Terrence, how do you feel? Do these two delays make this a weak year in video games?
I don't think it's a weak year in video games. Just well, for one, we had Elden Ring, man. I mean, Elden Ring, that's a generation title, right? A generation defining title right there. So that alone is enough to say no, huh?
I was playing it today.
King, you got Elden
All
Ring
day.
gang signs? My God.
Gang signs. Go to rain, baby.
I hope those aren't signs for anything else. But anyway,
Hope not.
I mean, I have a little list here. We had Elden Ring, we had Pokemon Arceus, we had Sifu, Horizon 2.
Mhm.
In terms of games that haven't come out yet, Live Alive, Xenoblade 3, Mario Strikers. There's still stuff to look forward to this year. I mean, just because we're not getting like Starfield and Redfall and a couple of other games this year, I mean, it is what it is. Now, I will say that those delays make it where this year isn't going to be as strong as maybe what we thought, but I don't think that means that this is a weak year. It just means that we're just not getting as many games as we thought we would. And like you said, Sage, all of us have huge backlogs. I know for me, I have a huge backlog. So this, honestly, if you don't, unless you're one of those people who like you actually play the games as soon as you get them and you finish it and you're done, I'm sure all of us have some games that we can go back and play. So even if this year isn't as quote unquote strong as you would like it, I'm sure there's plenty of games from last year, the year before, even years down the line that you could go back and play. And yeah, for me, I mean, the delays this year don't really affect me like that. The only games that I really was going to get like that, and they're two fighting games, are The King of Fighters 15, I got that, and then DNF Duel, that's going to come out next month, June. So those are really the only games that I was going to pick up like that because I don't have a next gen system. I don't have a PS5 or a Series X. So even when Final Fantasy 16 comes out, I can't get it. When Forspoken comes out, I mean, I can't get it. I would like to, but I can't. So, until I get a next gen system, some of these games I'm not even going to get a chance to play anyway. And I mean, it just is what it is. So, no, I don't think that this is a weak year for gaming. I think it's just a matter of perspective. I think those that are saying that it's a weak year, they're kind of how can I put it?
Being
They're being
hyperbolic.
very short sighted, huh?
Yeah, that short sighted also works.
Yeah, they're
I
being
agree.
very short sighted because it's like just look at all the stuff that has come out already. It's like now this later half of 2022 may not be as strong as, like I said, we thought it was going to be, but that still doesn't make this a weak year for gaming at all, at least in my opinion.
Uh, I agree, and I'm gonna get into it a little bit more in depth before we but I'm gonna ask Rakeem, uh, do you feel like this is a weak year for video games now, or is that insane? And does this even matter to your personal video game schedule? Like, and I mean, we already kind of got into that a little bit because you wanted Starfield, so
Yeah. Uh, dudes, I can't even finish Elden Ring, and I already have other games I bought this year. It would take me the entire year to play the first half of this year. So to say it's blowing, say this being a weak year is not just short sighted. You're just being blind. Now, if it's not to your preference, that's a different thing. Because we know we as gamers, we don't always look at everything in a full perspective. Like sometimes we're to one console, sometimes we're to one genre, and if it doesn't have a year of just that strong genre, that strong console, we're like, man, this year sucks. But in the grand scheme of things, you look at everything that's happened already, man. I remember when I saw February and March, I was like, bro, I can't play all these games. Like this is impossible. I'm a human being. I have a job. I can't do this anymore.
Got to keep
So
up with all the
I'm
anime, and you got to keep up with all the games.
all the anime,
well,
all the gaming, man.
I
Like,
can't.
look, man. That's a young man's game. I'm out. I'm out. I get to know life maybe one day out a month. so, uh, so to me, in my personal gaming schedule, I am perfectly fine because I kind of play different titles I'm interested in, and with my work schedule and different things I'm involved in, I don't even get to play games every day like I used to. So, for a normal average person, I think this schedule of gaming right now is going to be great. I also think like we're not even coming thinking about things that may get announced over like the game festival that might have not been announced already, big secrets. Maybe somebody was able, probably not. Maybe one developer in the world was able to just keep their game in a hyperbolic time chamber and just like the date and it's finished and nobody knows about it and it's gonna reveal it like we got you, we did it, and like we got ours. It's coming out. It's coming out in October. It's coming out in November. Greatest game of all time. You didn't even know it. You didn't know. but, but yeah, man, I think this has been a great year for gaming. I've had some great experiences playing games with my friend, my brother. I've had a blast playing Elden Ring. I've had a good time playing Titan Tita's Wonderlands. I still want to get into Weird West. I still want to play Horizon Forbidden West. There's a lot of games I want to get into. DNF Duel, as Terrence mentioned, because I'm a gamer who likes to play different genres too. I'm not one dimensional, but yeah, man, I think you're being short sighted if you're not giving this year the credit it deserves. This game may be front loaded. It might be more front loaded this year, but doesn't mean the whole year as a whole is going to be weak. I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. And then we don't know what's going to happen completely at the Summer Games Festival. So, yeah, that's my opinion on it.
So I'll go first, and we'll let Will close it out for this question. Well, go next, not first. I agree. Like the people who think that this is gonna make gaming 2022 a weak year, two things have happened here. One, you've made gaming your personality. Like you don't have any other hobbies. You don't go outside and touch grass. Clearly not. Like you don't do anything else. You go to work and you come home and you play video games, or you don't have a job. You still a student. Because there's no way you looked at this year and you were like, oh man, 5 games got delayed. This game this year is kind of weak and it's not what it was supposed to be and yada yada. Like bullshit, bullshit. And the other thing that's happened here is that you're incapable of taking a holistic view of video games. The only thing you're able to do is focus on the handful of games that you're interested in, AAA probably, or like if outside of that you're like, oh, everything sucks. Because what about Splatoon 3?
Yeah.
What about there's a new
yeah.
Pokemon coming out this fall, like a
Violet
brand
and
new.
something else.
What is it? The 9th generation?
Yeah,
I think it's
Violet
Gen
and
9.
something else.
Yeah, like so you're getting a whole new Pokemon, and as Terrence said, you're getting a Xenoblade. You're getting what the fuck is that game? Ah, shit. It's hella games.
You're getting
That's the
Star
problem.
Ocean, right? Star Ocean comes out this year,
Oh
doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't what I was gonna bring up, but yeah, we getting Star Ocean. Like supposedly, Square got like 50 games they coming out with. Lava Live,
wow.
Lava
It is,
Live, Star Ocean. I think is DLFL Chronicles supposed to be coming out this year?
I think that's supposed to be the latter part
Yeah.
of this year. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but I think it's the latter part.
Hell, they already dropped Triangle Strategy and Stranger of Paradise, which was a mean game, but it was a fun game.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, and then you got Forspoken coming out this year, and then okay, a little bit of it is that Forspoken and Gotham Knights look like they might not be great games. They look like they might not be genre-defining games. But I mean, personally, I'm okay with the 8 out of 10. Like everything ain't got to be a fucking 10 out of 10. Oh my
Thank
god, gaming is forever changed. Like I don't need all of that. Like I just want a good like for Gotham Knights. As long as it's a competent game that lets me play as Nightwing and Robin, I'm all in. Like if they say it's an 8 out of 10, but barely, I'm gonna be like, fuck yeah, it's game of the year. Like I'm all in. Like I don't give a shit. I just want to like play. I want to cosplay as my favorite fucking Batman universe characters. So like I'm fine with
Amen.
that. So like, and I know it's hella people that. Now I do feel sorry for the Red Hood people. I don't know. Y'all might have gotten hold. Hopefully not. I hope
Well,
not.
hey,
You
I
know?
still rock a red hood. I don't care if you're big or not. I'm big too, so I'm cool with it. My chest got a little big too. I went to Red Hood. You grew up with us, boy. I appreciate that. Red Hood for the common man, not for the pretty boys. For the common man. Big boy Red Hood. That's what I'm talking about. Big chest, bumping me. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Yeah.
Barry King is too much, bro.
That's where he is, yo.
But like real talk, like, and I'm forgetting some of the games, like Marvel's Midnight Suns. Everybody forgot about that
Oh
game.
yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, we talking
Sonic
about the other day.
Frontiers. What happened to Sonic Frontiers? That's supposed to be coming out this fall.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
a Sonic game, so we have to
bro.
wait to see how that is gonna look.
I mean, it might be
Good point.
trash, but it might be good. Like,
Like, it's trash.
it could be ass. It could be gas. Good ass. It could be, kind of ass, kind of good. It could be that. You don't know.
Those exist.
Those
exist.
definitely exist. Like it's hella games that, and I'm forgetting games because I'm not gonna sit here and go Wikipedia a list. Like go look that bitch up yourself and understand that like if you can play games outside of the same handful of AAA games, handful of open world games, like if you got interest outside of that, you will find plenty to love. And
Yeah.
while we're at it, once again, I'm gonna go back to it. Most of you motherfuckers wasn't gonna play these games anyway. You was gonna put it on a shelf somewhere. And you was gonna get to it one day. Not a specific day, one day. Which could be any day or no day. So like stop telling me, oh, this is a weak year in game. Like you just saying that because you want a list. You want to write down a list of, oh my God, can you believe all these games came out in 1 year? And you can still do that. It just may not have all the games that you personally want. So like some of y'all gotta grow the fuck up. All right,
Yeah.
Will, how do you feel? Like, do these delays make a weak year for video games?
First off, let me dial 911 for all them strays you just shot at me about these games.
Pew pew pew.
But
Yeah, I got shot too. Don't worry, Will.
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think this year is in any way, shape, or form weak because it's so much out there that you can kind of put your hands on. Because as of right now, this is what I've been streaming. Love it to death. And once I get done,
young man.
oh, I stream that at least 2 days out of the week. Monday, Tuesday is when I do
Let me get
it.
that Twitch name since we bringing it up. Let me get that Twitch name.
Willie DC28 is where you'll find me at on Twitch, and I'll be playing this on Mondays and Tuesdays, anywhere between 9 to 12 p.m.
There we go. All right.
Mhm. All right, and I also got this lined up, King. This is coming after this. So
I'm with
I
it.
feel like I feel like honestly, you have no reason to not play anything. And someone who works at GameStop, I'm just like him. I work. So I'm just kind of like, I come home, I play these games, I come do this with y'all, I read, I do whatever. But it's more like when I look at my games, I'm like, I got something to play. I can't sit up here and say I don't, because if I look to the left over here and I tell myself I ain't got nothing to play, I'm lying to myself, I'm lying to Jesus, and I'm lying to my wallet after all these years. So by sitting up here saying I don't have anything, I'll be a fool. And just like you said, if it's preference, cool. But if you just kind of like stuck to a set of games and you go into a GameStop and you look across the wall and you tell yourself, man, they ain't got nothing I want to play. That sound more like a you problem than an industry problem at that point. That's more a you problem than them. There's something for you to play. It's just you won't branch out. And I'm a big advocate for that. If you don't branch out, then you constantly spending your same $180 every year buying the same shit. Or well, not even 180 now, 210.
10. Yeah.
210. You spending your same 210 every year buying the same shit. They keep coming out. So all means, come play these games. These games are just not here for you to just look at and be like, man, that's for the nerds, that's for the geeks, that's for the neeks, that's for them. I'm like, bro, just play the game. You might like it.
You know, you took a shot because you said that it's the same 210. And I know what games you're talking about. You're talking about the same three games, Madden, 2K. But I feel
I will
like
forever take shots at them about that. I
I feel
will.
like I just want to say this real quick, and then you can keep going. But I do want to point out, uh, we take shots at COD, but like that's still a big game, and
I
that's
know.
still coming out this fall. And isn't it like a remake of Modern Warfare 2?
Yes, that is, and I know that's gonna sell like hotcakes. So I'm ready. I'm ready to take every pre-order I can see.
So once
So
again, like, don't
pray
tell
for
me
me.
nothing's coming out. Something coming out. Don't tell me that this is a weak year. Like, I don't want to hear it. But carry on. My bad,
Yeah.
bro. Carry on.
No, I feel you. I feel you on that. Like I said, I'm ready to take every pre-order I see come in once we tell people it's there. So by all means, I just want y'all to pray for me whenever time for it to be here. Cause I might come home mad as hell one night on the podcast. Like I had to take 80 pre-orders today because that's all they
Ooh,
wanted.
my
But no,
God.
I just feel like you don't stagnate yourself. It's been too many great years and good years of gaming for you to miss out on a good game. And just like Terrence, I want DNF Duel. I want to play KOF 15 because I ain't got that yet. And I want to get into a lot of other stuff that's like old that I got and a lot of indie things. But I could write along about indies for days on end because indies are constantly kind of dropping out left and right. But there's so much you can play right now. Don't settle for what you have in front of you. Don't settle for your handful of open worlds, like you said. Don't settle for your yearly titles. Don't sit up here and settle for those games that you consistently play. Because I know why you do it. It's because it's easy to hop into and just get going. But find something else. And if you don't like it, fine. If you find yourself liking it and you want more, ask. Someone's going to be able to help you find what you want. And this year is not going to be short of anything. I promise you.
So before we close out, I do want to cover a couple of things. First off, I took a lot
Sure.
of strays at y'all, but I took some strays at myself too. Like that was friendly fire. I hit myself on that bitch. The gun jammed and hit me too. Like, look here. I've been telling y'all about this. I've told Keem about this. I'm playing Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and I'm trying
Right.
to get through 1, 2 in time for 3. I'm not gonna make it. That is too close up, but still, I'm trying to get
Mhm.
there. Right. So I got those games that I'm playing. I got Super Robot Wars 30 from last year that
Oh
I'm playing.
yeah.
I have Weird West that I'm working on, and I also want to eventually get around to Strangers of Paradise and Triangle Strategy that Will just showed off. And those are just like games that came out in the last like
Up
year,
to
and then like Xenoblade of course, and then also Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. I'm working on 3 so that I can get through 4 so that I can be ready in time for Reverie next year. Yo, like I'm not short on nobody's games. Like nobody should be short on games. And like even the branch out thing, I'm pretty picky when it comes to video games. I really only care about a handful of games. Sometimes I will try to branch out. Like last year, I branched out and played Lake and Road
Mhm.
86 and Life is
I'll
Strange
watch
True
them
Colors.
later.
All
Yeah.
wonderful games,
Yeah, I
delightful
was gonna say
games.
Power Wash Simulator. I know you're a big fan of that.
Yeah, man.
I
You
actually am a huge fan of Power Wash Simulator. In fact, I believe
The Elden Ring of simulators.
the point nine. No, I don't think it's that. The point nine update for that is coming out this fall. I mean, no, not this fall. In like a week, and it's gonna have like the big update, like a year, 1 year anniversary. I'm super excited for that. So like, I have no like. It's not even hard to branch out, and even if it was
Mhm.
like, even inside of the few games that I'm playing, like just being a JRPG fan and an open world fan, I'm drowning in video games. And I don't understand how y'all aren't drowning too, unless you just discount everything that's not a AAA game. In which case, do you really? How much do you really love the industry to begin with, for you to be that obsessed? And while we're at it, two things I want to bring up before we close the show out. One, another game that I forgot, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which
Mm.
may
Oh
get delayed, but it's supposed to
yeah.
come
Ah
out this
yeah.
year. And,
Disappointing.
Hmm.
Rakeem talked about like, oh, it's potentially some games that we haven't seen that will be at the shows for the summer. They may not be AAA games, but there will definitely be some games that are going to come out this year that we don't know about right now. Like that's just how it works. They shadow drop games all the time. They give you games and they're like, surprise, bitch, it's gonna be out in 4 months all the time. That happens at the AA level and the indie, like the smaller levels, all the fucking time. And I don't think that they're gonna break from that pattern this year. So
Salt
you
and
won't have
Sanctuary.
any shortage of games. I promise you. So
Salt and
like y'all,
Sanctuary did that.
you say what?
Salt and Sanctuary did that. It came out on the 10th. You heard of Salt and Sacrifice, the sequel, Salt and Sanctuary came out on the 10th. And my coworker brought it up to me. He said, he's like, I wonder when the game's coming out because they hadn't said nothing. And then he looked it up. He's like, oh, it came out today. I'm like, yeah, it did. I was confused. I was just like, it really
Surprise,
just,
motherfucker.
Yeah, I
it
mean
did. It just,
they announced their release date in April.
they did because it's like it just
Yeah,
slid out to
they
me.
had a trailer. They had a trailer for
Well, it was well hidden.
it.
At
It
levels
slid
below the
out.
AAA level, you can do that, and they will
Mm.
do that. Like I rest assured, by the time like Summer Game Fest is close, y'all. In fact, we'll be covering like we'll probably do a predictions podcast and shit like that.
Oh, yeah,
But
most
like,
certainly.
but like that's just a month off, and by the end of June, you'll have so many more games that you'll know about, and the
Mhm.
idea of it being a weak year for video games will be a distant thought and just like a joke.
Exactly.
Okay,
Most certainly.
I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor. I need you to hit that subscription button on YouTube. I need you to follow us on Twitter and TikTok. I need you to tell your friends about
Mhm.
it. And finally, I need you to do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.